Have you ever tried to fix something without knowing what was broken? It's like trying to bake a cake, but you don't know if you need more sugar or if you accidentally use salt instead. It usually ends in a mess, and nobody gets any cake, which is the real tragedy here. Well, understanding behavior is a lot like that. Before you can help someone change a behavior, whether it's a kid who won't do their homework, a puppy who chews everything, or even yourself trying to stop biting your nails, you have to know what's actually happening. You can't just guess, you have to watch. It's the most important first step. It's what all the smarty pants people do before they jump in with a plan. It's all about gathering the facts, like a detective with a very friendly magnifying glass. We all people watch, right? The difference here is that we're not just watching for entertainment. We're watching with a goal. Imagine your friend tells you their child is being bad at school. What does bad even mean? Is the child throwing spaghetti in the cafeteria? Is she talking when the teacher is talking? Is he just doodling superheroes in his notebook instead of doing math? See, bad is not helpful. It's vague. Instead of being bad, we might learn that Johnny gets out of his seat and walks around the classroom 5 times during the 30-minute reading block. Now that is something we can work with. We need something called a behavioral definition. This is just a fancy way of saying we need to describe the behavior so clearly that anyone could know exactly what to look for. So instead of being defiant, we could say, when the teacher gives an instruction, the student crosses his arms, says no, and turns his body away from the teacher. Instead of gets angry, you would write, clenches his fists, raises his voice, and uses a red crayon to draw angry eyebrows on all the pictures in his book. Now that's a picture. There are 2 main ways to get information, and it's kind of like getting news. You can either watch the news live as it happens, or you can have someone tell you about it later. In our world, we call this direct assessment versus indirect assessment. Indirect assessment is when we're asking people about behavior using interviews or questionnaires. Think of it as getting the gossip. If a parent is really frustrated, they might say a tantrum lasted forever when it was really only 5 minutes. It felt like forever. Direct assessment is the live action, in-the-moment stuff. You're not relying on anyone's memory. You're seeing it for yourself and recording it right then and there. Before you start a new diet or workout plan, what do? You take a before picture, right? You need to know your starting point so you can see how far you've come later on. In the world of behavior, we do the exact same thing. We call this starting point the baseline. Collecting baseline data means observing and recording the behavior before you try to change anything. Maybe you think your child complains all the time, but after you collect baseline data for a few days, you might find out it only happens for about 5 minutes right before bed when he's tired. Either way, the baseline data gives you the truth. It takes the guesswork and the emotion out of the situation and replaces them with cold, hard facts, and facts are our friends. The first is the natural setting. It's the real-life environment where the behavior usually happens. If we're observing a child's classroom behavior, the natural setting is the classroom. Observing in the natural setting is fantastic because you get to see how the behavior functions in the real world. You can see all the things that happen right before and after the behavior. An analog setting is a controlled environment that is set up to be like the natural setting. It's a simulation. It's our behavior laboratory. We can control the environment, remove distractions, and make the behavior happen on our schedule. It's efficient and gives us a very clear look at the behavior. One of the simplest methods is called frequency recording. This is just a fancy word for counting. You are literally counting how many times the behavior happens within a specific observation period. How many times did the student call out in class? You just make a tally mark each time it happens. It's great for behaviors that have a clear beginning and end. But what if it's something like a tantrum or crying? A 5-second tantrum and a 30-minute tantrum would both count as one in a frequency count. But we all know those are very different situations. For these, we use duration recording. You start a stopwatch when the behavior begins, and you stop it when the behavior ends. This tells you the total amount of time. Sometimes it's about intensity. Is it quiet whimpering or full-blown screaming? We could create a rating scale from 1 to 5, where 1 is quiet whimpering and 5 is loud screaming. Latency measures the time between a prompt and the start of the behavior. You ask your son to take out the trash. Are we talking 2 seconds or 2 hours? That's latency. What about behaviors that happen really fast, or don't have a clear start and stop? Instead of observing continuously, we break the observation period down into smaller, equal chunks of time, like chopping a carrot into little pieces. Let's say we have a 30-minute observation period. We could break that down into 30 one-minute intervals. For each interval, we answer a simple yes or no question. Did the behavior happen? With partial interval recording, You mark it if it happened at any point during the interval, even for just a split second. With whole interval recording, you only mark it if it happened for the entire interval. If they look out the window for even a second, you don't mark it for that interval. What if the behavior you want to change is your own? It's called self-monitoring, and it's one of the most powerful tools for behavior change out there. You become your own detective. First, you need a clear behavioral definition. If you want to eat healthier, that's too vague. A better definition would be, eat at least 1 serving of vegetables with lunch and dinner. The magic of self-monitoring is that it makes you aware. So many of our habits happen on autopilot. We bite our nails or scroll through our phones without even thinking about it. The act of having to record the behavior forces you to notice it. That moment of awareness is everything. It's a pause button. In that pause, you have a choice. How do we know we're doing a good job? How can we be sure our measurements are accurate? Imagine 2 people observing the same student. One counted 3 callouts, the other counted 10. That's a problem. This is where Interobserver agreement, or IOA, comes in. It's a way of checking if 2 independent observers are getting the same results. It's our quality control. Researchers aim for an IOA of 80% or higher. If the agreement is low, it usually means the behavioral definition isn't clear enough. IOA is what makes behavioral observation a science, and not just a guessing game. It's what makes our data believable and our conclusions trustworthy. From clear behavioral definitions to baseline data, from natural settings to interval recording, from self-monitoring to interobserver agreement, these are the tools that turn watching into science. Whether you're helping a child, training a pet, or changing your own habits, these observation and recording techniques give you the power to make real, lasting change based on facts, not guesses. Thanks for watching. Understanding how to observe and record behavior accurately is the foundation of effective behavior change. If this video helped clarify the process, give it a like and share it with your study group or classmates. Don't forget to subscribe to ChapterCast for more concise chapter-by-chapter breakdowns to support your ABA journey. See you in the next one.